Oh, for more on this, Thomas Warrick joins us now, live from Washington, D.C. He's a former Deputy Assistant Secretary at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Welcome to the programme. How far do you think the Trump administration's tariff strategy is jeopardising relations with traditional allies?
So President Trump does believe very strongly that tariffs are a useful leverage. He has applied them so far very selectively against specific trading partners, and in most cases with a specific objective in mind. So, for example, when the president of Colombia in South America refused to take back deportees, President Trump threatened very steep tariffs on just Colombia, and the Colombian president was forced to agree to a deal. When he threatened Canada and Mexico with tariffs, they both said they would send additional security personnel towards the U.S. border to try to cut down on the flow of illegal drugs like fentanyl and migrants who were seeking to try to cross, particularly from Mexico. And then he also worked to try to protect the U.S. steel and aluminum industry by imposing tariffs on other countries that import steel or aluminum into the United States. So this is one of his favorite tactics, and every sign is that he will be continuing this going forward.
And indeed, and one of his favorite words, we know. But what do you think is the end game with the tariffs for Donald Trump?
It's not always easy to tell, given what the White House has said. This most recent statement threatened countries that impose tariffs on U.S. goods. That's actually a relatively small number of countries and relatively targeted in how that's actually done by other countries. The international trade regime actually saw tariffs largely eliminated over a period of years since the end of the Second World War. So what Trump is doing is revising a tactic that he thinks was successful over 100 years ago. Economists would disagree with that, but we're going to see what Trump thinks as he imposes these measures on even friends and allies of the United States.
And would there be any winners if this does develop into trade wars?
Well, the answer is actually more complex than many people think. Specific industries sometimes come out well. There are also instances where a domestic industry can actually be helped by tariffs. For example, the United States does relatively little manufacturing of solar cells here in the United States. That's largely done overseas. And so there have been measures in the recent past to try to protect U.S. solar cell manufacturers. The problem is the advantages of this strategy play out over long periods of time. These almost never work out to be quick wins for anyone. And in the short term, they usually cause more disruption than they do benefits, even from the standpoint of people like President Trump who are advocating for them.
Thank you so much, Thomas, for speaking to us today here on TRT World. Thomas Warrick, former Deputy Assistant Secretary at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Thank you for your time and thoughts.